Hey guys, welcome back to Entertainment Experts. I'm with a good friend and another co-host today, Tyler, and we're going to do a FNAF breakdown. Tyler is a FNAF addict and he loves FNAF, so might as well bring him onto the show. And why don't you just introduce yourself?
Oh, my name's Tyler. I actually might have been one of the first players to ever even play the first FNAF game back when I was in middle school. On the first week the game was released, I was sitting in the gym. I think it was before like a winter break or something. And I look over to this kid sitting next to me, and he's sitting there scrolling through security cameras. And I see this giant bear, and I was so confused. And I asked him what he was playing. He didn't say anything. He just handed me the phone, and I started playing, and I got scared so badly. But after that moment, I fell in love with the game. Showed it to my little brother. He fell in love with it too. It's been a staple of my childhood, essentially, just growing up. We've loved the FNAF series, all the games. The newer ones I haven't been the biggest fan of, but I still love the older ones. And ever since the first announcement of the movie in April 2015, I've been just waiting for it. And I can't believe it's actually going to happen. What, 8 years later? eight
Yeah,
years
that's
since the first announcement, which is just insane. At most movies die in a year or two if nothing is progressed, and somehow it made it 8 years later. And that is something I want to talk about later of the movie, the scrapped movie scripts.
yeah. I mean, there's been multiple like directors with this project as was announced. Like, I think at first was announced from Warner Brothers and Universal, but
Mhm.
it got passed down to Blumhouse.
Yeah,
And
I will actually go into that later, but there is a reason it did get canceled earlier from Warner Bros.
because they didn't want to do Scott's plan. I know that. I think this is Scott's Die Hard script, I feel like.
Well, I can go into a spoil it a little of the later, but it was actually the what's it? It was the Mike script, which is personally I think could end up being better than this, would have been better than this movie, but we'll get into that later. But it was the Mike script. We didn't know if it was about Michael Afton or Mike Schmidt, the security guard.
Yeah.
All we knew is that it was Mike, and it was this one was made around spring 2021, and they were ready for to go into production. But then Scott actually stepped away for the game, as we all know. We all know the whole reason. We're not going to get into that. He stepped away from the game, and Chris, what
Christopher Columbus, like Chris
Chris, yeah,
Columbus.
Chris Columbus actually got scared that Scott stepped away and thought the game was going to die, so he dropped the film completely. And then, like you said, Blumhouse ended up taking it.
Yeah.
So very glad they did. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, let's start with the trailer and we'll stop it at certain points so we can talk about it.
Hi, this is Mike. I was just calling to see if that job that you offered was still available. Yes.
All right, I need to ask you, how do you feel about Josh Hutcherson as Mike, the security guard?
I'm actually a pretty big fan of him, and I'm glad he's actually playing Mike. I don't, we don't necessarily ever know what Mike looked like,
Yeah.
but if I ever had to picture it, I would say it's pretty close to what Josh looks like. I don't know. That's always how my brain pictured Mike. And also really like how Afton
Yeah.
is played by Matthew.
Matthew
Um,
Lillard.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, he's a very good actor. So I'm very glad they hired him, and he looks exactly what I would picture Afton to look like too.
Yeah, like we grew up on Matthew Lillard with the Scooby-Doo franchise and even the Scream franchise, like original Scream. He did like
Mhm.
a really great psycho killer in that. But they're trying I feel like the trailer's trying to throw us off. Like we all know he's William Afton, but it's saying Steve Raglan down there as a career consultant. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering, like, we see this later in the trailer, but we see like Mike is in trouble. I feel like maybe he's pulling strings to get him over there. But we also see that Mike has a daughter or sister, but I don't know.
Yeah, the daughter's actually named Abby. It's Abby Schmidt. So that'd be Mike Schmidt's daughter. But yeah, that that's one of the biggest things that shocked us when the trailer first dropped, is not in any mention of any of the previous games had we heard of Mike having a daughter.
Yeah,
So I'm assuming it's just you want extra characters. I don't think you want only Mike and Afton really to be the main characters. I think you want more people in it. I think she should be a good addition.
yeah. How you feel about the little throw off with the Steve Raglan little sign over there as a career
Um,
consultant?
I'm not. That's a little confusing because I mean, if you literally do a quick Google search, you can see that they have him listed as Michael Afton,
Yeah.
or not Michael, William Afton, sorry.
Yeah.
They have him listed as William Afton. So that one is a little confusing, but doesn't necessarily surprise me. I mean, you could later in the trailer you'll hear him talk about how they wanted or the old man couldn't let go of the location. So that makes me think he probably was in some previous trouble and needed a little name switch so people don't recognize who he is.
Yeah, or we can call him Purple Guy if that is more something you want to talk about.
Yeah, no, if you don't understand the direct FNAF lore, essentially William Afton is Purple Guy who stuffs or kills kids and then stuffs them in animatronics, which is where the possessing takes place. And you'll see that later in the trailer. They don't hide that at all, which is a good thing. But yeah.
All right, let's keep on going. Well, thing is, actually, I saw like snooze, like a little clip that Scott actually implemented like another script in here as well, but we can talk about that at the certain part where it comes in.
Oh, I haven't heard about
A
that.
security guard. I will take anything from them.
This place was huge in the 80s with the kids. They shut it down years ago. The owner's just not ready to let it go yet.
I will work and you will sleep.
I understand.
All right, I think this trailer and the movie so far is nailing the aesthetic and like the location of FNAF, to be honest.
Oh yeah, no, it is visually beautiful. It looks just like the first game that I remember. And it honestly couldn't be more excited for it. That's the same thing we'll go into later about the animatronics. I'm very glad they're real and they're not just CGI.
Yeah.
Like, especially with how bad CGI has been recently, I'm very glad they made real animatronics.
Yeah, I like all these little details, like the stained glass. You see, like Bonnie. I mean, you see a lot of Chica with the birthday cake, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of great things here.
And if you pause there on those pictures, this is just for the diehard FNAF fans like me. Like a big majority, obviously excluding the ones where you can see like some, like, I don't know how to describe it, but there's certain ones in there that are taken directly from the first game. When you flip through the cameras, you can see those exact pictures in the game. So I think it's really cool that he continuously pays homage to the old fans throughout the whole trailer.
Yeah, it's great. Have you seen Megan? I haven't seen Megan yet, so
I have not seen Megan.
So I might need to go see that before I watch this to get like a little thought process.
Yeah.
All you have to do is keep your eyes on the monitor.
Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's, where fantasy and fun come to life.
All right. I don't know how I feel about this. Like, well, we'll keep on going, but we'll talk about it in a second.
You must be new security guard.
Can I help you, officer?
Have you met them yet?
All right. Well, if we don't know, we like everyone knows that's Vanessa, right? Like she talks, comes out.
Yes, no, that's Vanessa,
Like,
which is the biggest throw off of the trailer. Or might not be the biggest to get to the end, but one of the biggest throw offs of the trailer, because as if you guys don't know, there was about 7 FNAF video games before Vanessa was even Vanessa was introduced on the VR, which I believe was 6 or 7. So that's about a hefty skip in the timeline. Like, where did Vanessa come from? No one really expected her to be in this movie, but it's pretty obvious if you think about why. The recent game Security Breach was not successful at all, and the fans were not happy about it. It was very glitchy, buggy, lacked content, wasn't scary at all. And if you guys don't know, around this time, Security Breach is actually getting a new DLC, and it's going to be free because they felt bad, and it's going to be pretty much an entire new game. And obviously, this is just a way to promote the new game, which there isn't necessarily anything wrong with, but it's not canon to the storyline. Vanessa should not even be like a known thing yet.
yeah. Well, here's the thing, like how she says that, like little throw off, like, do you know them? Like, have you met them yet? Like, that's kind of a little concerning because like she already knows a little bit more than Mike does. Like, is she a character we can trust, or is there a character she's working with William, like who we see later on? Because like in the games, we know she's like a dual personality, where sometimes she can be good and sometimes she can be bad.
Yeah, no, well, maybe in this movie she's nicer, but Vanessa is through and through very evil. And
Yeah.
the later games, like Security Breach, Afton actually lives through Vanessa, which obviously the Afton we saw is still alive in this one. So that's where the big throw off is. But yeah, that is a good point you brought up that clearly Vanessa says, has he met them yet? Or have you met them yet? Referring to the animatronics, which means she knows some sort of history about this location. She knows something about the animatronics that clearly Mike doesn't know yet because he brings his own daughter to the place. So the fact that she knows that, and you'll see later, I think if you play like 10 more seconds, she'll call Mike the new security guard,
Yeah.
which means the previous one
Something happened.
disappeared.
Yeah.
So either the previous one quit right away, which never seems to happen. They always seem to die or died. And Vanessa could be here to investigate the passing of the previous security guard, but either way, she knows more than she should, which makes me think she's probably gonna be pairing with Afton at some point by the end of this movie to kill Mike.
Well, the also thing, why is the police officer late at night in a storm, like a rainstorm, just coming to an abandoned, closed down entertainment place? Like she didn't really give us a good alibi just yet. I know it's just a trailer, but she really didn't give us anything or motives saying why she's there in the first place.
Yeah, that's why I think the best reason right now is that she's here to investigate the previous disappearance of a security guard, which would
Right.
make the most sense because later she will address him as the new, which means something happened to the old.
With who?
Um,
All right. I like the setup we got here. It kind of gives me like it's not the same setup we got from the first one, but it's very similar to that. And
Mhm.
this is taking place, well, in one of my favorite football teams, Nebraska. I don't know if you knew that, but
I didn't even notice that.
it takes place in the state of Nebraska, which is interesting. I don't know where the games were taking place, but I don't think it was taking place there.
Yeah, I don't, as far as I remember, I don't have any reference to where the FNAF locations ever were, just that they were a thing. And I didn't even notice that when I was watching the trailer the first time that said Nebraska. But yeah, no, the office is definitely, it looks very good. His little keypad thing that they'll show later in the trailer if they haven't already looks nice. It looks simple. Doesn't look anything that it shouldn't be for just a rundown abandoned place.
I mean, and we also got like that nice little like classic art to the left here. Like you see that little poster, like it's like the classic FNAF original poster, like
That's,
the
that
advertisement.
was yeah, that was in the original office, and I'm very glad they added that.
It's really great. And we see that Mike overhears a Walkman just trying to sleep during his time, but the kids and the animatronics have a different idea.
Yeah, you cannot be falling asleep on the job here,
Yeah.
and learn that right now.
But we never got an off switch in the games. I don't remember that. So
Yeah, there was never an off switch, but at the same time, nothing was ever on. All the power was normally off and never turned on during the night. But I'm glad that you can see him already outside of the office. I'm glad it's not just him sitting, even
yeah,
though it's not necessarily canon to the first game. I'm glad we'll actually get to see the pizzeria as full. I mean, we get little camera versions of everything, but
yeah,
everyone's always wondered what it would be like to step out of that office and walk around. And not even the VR game allows you to do that. So it's really cool to see that he's not stuck in that room.
true. I'm very excited for that.
in the 80s, kids went missing. The police searched Freddy's top to bottom. Hello? They never found them.
All right. I know a lot of people were outcrying when the first Evil Eyes came out. Like they were like bloodshot orange, or were they red?
They were bloodshot red.
And how you feel about the certain changes back to like game accurate form?
Though that just shows you that in within a month, Scott was able to fix something that was so crucial because that frustrated me a lot. Not in one point in any of those games that we played growing up did the animatronics have red eyes. I'm glad they finally put them back to yellow where they belong. And other like it just shows that they really are taking fan input, even though the movie's definitely already created by now. They definitely are still listening to what the fans want, which means the script is probably going to go along the lines of what the fans want, which is pretty important because there's no guarantee a second movie ever comes. They didn't really hint anything in this. So this could be the only movie we ever get when we waited 8 years for it. So I'm glad something just as simple as Red Eyes was fixed because even though it might sound like, oh, you guys are just complaining, when you played the video game for the last 10, 12 years, you'd understand that just something that simple cannot be missed in a movie.
Facts. That is very true. But I want to go back to here for a second and
Bottom.
Hello?
see. For me, that sounds like Balloon Boy from FNAF 2 when she says hello, or when we keep on going.
They never found them. That's why the place.
When these bandits come up, actually, right here, this was actually like a scrapped like script Scott had written. It's just like an abandoned FNAF place, and it's just these people going in and they all get murdered. But we saw something like this earlier when we all know like the one with Nicolas Cage, which was supposed to be a FNAF movie, but it wasn't. It's like a parody version, but it was supposed to be a FNAF movie. But that's kind of like what these people are doing right now.
Yeah, you could see the dude in the orange right there. His name is Hank, and I believe they have Max with them. You just don't see him in this clip, but you'll see Max later in the trailer. But yeah, that is Hank, and it is interesting that they're breaking in during the day as well. So that should mean Mike's not there. So that makes you wonder if one time he comes back and there's just going to be a bunch of dead bodies or something like that. It's very interesting to see the movie start, and it'll start showing more and more scenes that are outside because that's something we'd never seen in the FNAF universe besides the little mini games that you get in between things where you'd walk around in like a pixelated outside. And yeah, it's very interesting to see people breaking into the location. That's going to add a lot of suspicion.
I mean, when you think about it, these probably like animatronics are a couple $1,000. So these guys are probably low level like criminals that want to make an extra side of cash. So they probably breaking in thinking no one's there or none of these things are possessed, so they can sell it for some good cash.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the place shut down.
And this scene is actually huge. There you see Hank.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see him die, but pretty positive he's dead. And it's good to see this. This is another thing of Scott making sure the FNAF fans are satisfied. That is paying. You can see he is in the janitorial closet.
Yeah.
And dies to Bonnie, which if you guys did never play the first game, the only character that would ever enter the janitorial closet camera was actually Bonnie herself. So it's very good to see that they're keeping that originality and functioning through the games, even though they're adding things like Vanessa and Abby, which weren't normally in the main thing. It's good to see they're keeping this original. The closet looks amazing, and Bonnie just looks perfect.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, my only issue so far is that I feel like the film's already been released, and not really released, but been given the rated PG-13. But hopefully the movie is like PG-13 pushing rated R, like maybe like some films will do.
Yeah, you already know how I feel about that. I'm very disappointed that this movie's PG-13. I know they want to appeal to the young audience, which is starting to FNAF is starting to the fan base is starting to transition a little. It's starting to transition from our era to a newer era, which is a big reason they put Vanny in it because they want the kids to start playing the new games, not the old games.
Right.
But it's really interesting. I don't necessarily know how I feel about that. I think FNAF is inherently supposed to be scary. And you don't need a bunch of blood and stuff to be scary, but you would like the ability to have it if you want to put it in. So
Right.
I don't know how I feel about it not being rated R. And that's probably my biggest knock on the movie so far. Is just there's no reason it shouldn't be rated R. It's a horror movie. I mean, kids still see horror movies. They just need a parent with them to go to the movie. I don't understand that part, but
That's true.
that's a little frustrating.
There are ghost children possessing giant robots.
We never got. I don't feel like we never got this in the games. Like we had like we didn't see like the little. Well, we saw the gravestones in the games, but we really never seen like kids like this though.
Yeah, in FNAF 2, I believe it was FNAF 2 and FNAF 4, some of the mini games you would see a bunch of kids, but they weren't kids, they were souls. They were crying childs. They would have tears running down their eyes and they'd run around and they would always be in groups like this. So technically we kind of seen it, but we've never seen them in kid form. And
Yeah.
I'm really surprised we don't see them like visibly like crying or Scott trying to reiterate that parts of the game. But I think it is actually cool that we get to almost, I mean, obviously he's hallucinating here and you can, because these kids are already dead, but it's just cool. Like, especially the kid holding the Foxy hook, seeing that, well, that's the kid that's stuffed in Foxy. Just little things like that make the movie overall just a lot better.
Yeah. I want to go back here. I want to ask you who you think is. I need to get to that. Who do you think is what? Because we all know the kid in the red is Foxy.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think this kid to like left here in the brown shirt is Freddy, the normal Freddy, not Golden Freddy? We'll head there soon.
I'm honestly never really thought about that. I would say he would be Freddy. You could tell the girl on the right is definitely Chica
Yeah,
because they
he's
put the yellow on her. But I can't. I looks like the person in the back left is wearing blue, but it's kind of hard to tell.
yeah, and he also has like those like we can go back a couple scenes, but we can go right here. He's got like kind of got those bunny ears with the blue, so you can see that he's
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
no, it's yeah. The video's a lot smaller on my screen, but I do. Yeah, I do see the bunny ears. So yeah, that's definitely Freddy. And then yeah,
and then
Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, Chica.
I don't know who the guy in the top hat is. That's my only
Yeah,
issue.
that could be Freddy because Freddy does wear a top hat.
Yeah, but
So
it's throwing us off with that brown with this kid in the jeans. I feel
Mhm. But I think that shows one of them is probably Golden Freddy,
yeah,
which
'cause there's five
we all know.
kids.
Yeah, I would say it'd have to be Golden Freddy. It could be Springtrap, which we'll talk about later, but I shouldn't be. So that is very confusing. But something if you guys don't know and you're becoming a new fan of Five Nights at Freddy's is that Scott never does something unintentionally. There's a reason there's a fifth kid there. There's a reason one of them's wearing a top hat and one of them's wearing brown. Scott, everything he does, there's a reason. And we might not know it yet, but when the movie comes around, it's gonna surprise us.
It gives us multiple clues on certain stuff. So it's
Mhm.
great.
Thanks for the heads up.
Technically, they're animatronics.
So there you can kind of see how Mike doesn't trust Vanny very much yet. And he doesn't really believe that these animatronics are going to come out and kill him, which is probably why he fell asleep in the office in one of the earlier scenes. But it is just interesting because I like how they're keeping a realism to it. I mean, if you got a job and you went there and someone told you these animatronics are going to come out and kill you, you would start laughing and never believe anybody. But that just shows another thing that Vanny knows too much. So I really do believe Vanny is going to be taking a especially evil role, even though it's going to seem like for a majority of the movie, she's going to be the nice guy.
That's true. And I was actually like looking at some more theories online, and they're saying what Abby's looking at right now is Springtrap, Spring or whatever you call it, Spring Lock, like the
Mhm.
yellow, and you had the five kids who fortunately passed away because these are
Yeah,
the same five kids and the
that
same.
goes. That is Springtrap. That goes back to the actual game storyline. Where, if you guys don't know, Five Nights at Freddy's, or what was it, Fredbear's Family Diner, the
Yeah.
very first location. There was Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. All they weren't animatronics yet. The only thing there was William Afton, would go on the back and he'd put on Springtrap suit and he'd go out and play with the kids. That's what Five Nights at Freddy's used to be. That or Fredbear's Diner. So that's already, you can see where the murders took place. That is showing essentially how he would lure children in the back with the Springlock Bonnie suit, which also known as Springtrap, and he would kill them. So yeah, that is Springtrap, and I would assume that would be the 5 animatronics that we know now as kids.
Yeah, because it looks like exactly like the same 5 kids we saw Mike hallucinating earlier. Because you still got the kid. I mean, I'm just referencing, throwing some theories out there, but it looks exactly like the 5 kids we got.
That is definitely the original animatronics with Springtrap, just in their kids form.
Yeah, and this little Chica looks a little. It's so like demonic to me with that. Let's eat with the.
Yeah, that's why the first game will always stay the best game. The first game had pictures like that where it's like kids drew this, but it's low-key terrifying. Why do they look so scary? Even though kids see things in the bright ways. I'm just glad they're incorporating what made the first game so scary.
They want to make her like them.
There's oh good Foxy. But why? See, Vanessa just said that they want to make her like them, but Foxy's right here, and Abby's just sitting in this corner of the shot, just chilling. So there's something that's grabbing Foxy's attention.
From what I remember correctly, in the old games, the animatronics necessarily did not attack children. That's something that is going to be interesting. Are the animatronics going to go after children, or are they clearly going to be targeting adults? Because in the old games, we always knew it as they didn't attack kids because it's kids in the body of the animatronic. And they would always go after the adults because they felt like the only reason they were there are because of adults, which is true. So I feel like Abby might have a specific role where she's almost like the mediator between the animatronics and Mike and Vanessa. But when you see later in the trailer, which I think is coming up in the next few scenes, a kid is clearly attacked. So I'm not exactly sure. But in the old movies, if I do, or not the old movies, the old games, I do remember correctly, the animatronics were very friendly towards kids and had no intention of killing them.
Yeah, we're about to see one of those kids from a break-in meet their kind of.
That is, yeah, we're about to meet Max from the break-in, which I was telling you guys about.
Yeah, but I still kind of weird how like Vanessa says that because like untruthful, while Foxy's just not look like Foxy could just kill Abby right here and like get the revenge like he won, but we know from the games that they don't harm kids.
Yes. And you gotta pause it there. You gotta see the cupcake. Everyone, I'm so glad they put the cupcake back in that, and it looks amazing.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, Chica has a little plate in her hand and holds the cupcake. And I believe the cupcake was in the office in the first game. I believe, yeah. The cupcake was there. It is like the symbol of Five Nights at Freddy's. Other than Freddy's nose squeaking, which I hope at some point in the movie they put in one time, but I doubt it. But it is cool to see the cupcake there. And the cupcake is an animatronic, as you can see, it blinks whenever you unpause. So I wonder if the cupcake will actually have a big role or if it's just like a homage to the original fans. Either way, it doesn't matter. The cupcake never had a big role in the games regardless, besides the fourth one where they were like haunted. So
it looks good though.
It looks really good. That one might be a little more CGI than the other ones. You can kind of tell, but at the end of the day, it still looks very good. It's not, to see what movies make today, it's not even hard CGI, so it should be good throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
Stop.
So here we go. We got Max, but I don't know what animatronic she's looking at.
She's looking at Freddy. That is 100% Freddy's face.
Yeah.
And this is a big theory that's going to come up here. Once you play the full thing, I'll go into it. But I highly doubt it's true.
Do you think someone's pulling her in? Because like
it looks like someone's pulling her in, but the biggest things in the original games was the bite of 87. People think this could possibly be the bite of 87. Everyone thought, and if you remember I think it was the first 3 games before the 4th game where we learned about the bite of 87, everyone thought it was Foxy. What we learned in the 4th game is that it was actually Freddy.
Yeah.
And that is Freddy. And if you do remember, Bite of 87 was Freddy bit a kid, and they're like, I forget the exact term of it, but in that part of the head, which clearly she is being grabbed by.
Yeah.
So is it actually that Bite of 87, or is this like a reference to how in the first games, the animatronic, like the kids would be in the thing and then rot and die? They wouldn't just kill the kid, throw them away. Like they would be physically stuffed in the suit. But
Right.
I have a hard time seeing it being the Bite of 87, but we already see Vanessa,
Mhm.
which is not part of the original storyline. So it could be like taking parts of the game and then creating its own movie universe.
Right.
So you never know. But that could possibly be the Bite of 87.
I don't know. To me, it also could be Springtrap, who we saw, we were talking about earlier about William Afton. Could be another theory out there. Is just him kind of pulling her and killing her, because we see a hand physically come out of that mouth. So that's
Yeah, I think I the hand looked like a kid's hand, so I have a hard time seeing it. I feel like that might be more of an illusion just to like
yeah,
kind of, because if you never played the games before, you really wouldn't understand that there's kids' souls in the animatronics. I think it's just like what Mike saw in the woods. I don't, this part's going to be weird. I don't know. I feel like they might try and act on the Bite of 87 and kind of make the movie its own timeline, but at the same time, easily, like they cut down for a reason. Easily, someone could have taken her that wasn't Freddy. Freddy could have just been standing there. So we really don't know. But it's very interesting. But it's kind of scary that it points down to the kid being pulled, which shows that there literally might not be any like killing and like that you physically see, which
yeah.
would be really unfortunate because every Five Nights at Freddy's fan is one to see what the animatronics actually do. Because when you get jump scared, the game just ends. And here they're cutting down, and then earlier they showed the dude's hand hitting the janitor closet. There might not be any death we see, which is very unfortunate for this movie.
Well, hopefully we get some good jump scares like most games give.
Yeah, no, find out there better be jump scares in this movie.
Yeah, like him working at the cameras. This oof. Or
Yeah, like and the people complain that the horror genre has died because of jump scares, but Five Nights at Freddy's is the originality of jump scares. So the reason jump scares got so big is because of games like Five Nights at Freddy's, and it did kind of ruin the movie universe for horror movies. But here, we better see jump scares because this is what the game is.
let's see. What was that? That's I want to know what that's yellow. Not yellow, but like this. Who do you think's foot is this? Because I don't know.
I'm not necessarily sure either. When I was playing through the trailer, I didn't even notice that part. There's a couple things that could be. It could be Mangle, which was in, and people might be like, well, Tyler, Mangle was in the second game. This is the first location. If you guys don't know, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 actually took place before the first game. It was a prequel. So Mangle could technically be there, but I highly doubt it, knowing that she wasn't shown in any of the trailers, nor was she in the actual first game. But that's more than likely just an endoskeleton. In the first game, when you go through the cameras, you do actually see there's one camera that shows like a closet, not like the janitorial closet from Bonnie, but there's like a little warehouse thing, and you do see a bunch of endoskeletons that look just like this. It's like animatronics without skin, which is an endoskeleton. So it could just be one of those, and they're just paying homage to the first game and the fans that remember the endoskeletons.
This actually kind of reminds me of Security Breach a little bit, because like at the end we see William Afton intertwined with the Springtrap, and if you look at it, it kind of has the same footing at like this little ball with this endoskeleton like leg.
Yeah, it could be. If you guys don't know, Springtrap is very broken down, so it could be Springtrap's legs. I would say it's more likely the endoskeletons from the first game that you'd see on the cameras, but those didn't move. So it could be Springtrap, but at the end of the day, I think the biggest giveaway to why it might be Springtrap is you look at the color.
Yeah.
Is Springtrap's color, like the light in there. And you know what? Like I said, Scott does nothing unintentionally. There's a reason Springtrap's color is on this thing instead of like a blue light or something.
You see that purple too.
Yeah, then yep, purple represents purple guy, which is William Afton. So it will be interesting to see. But
Yeah,
that's more than likely Springtrap. Now that I do think about the colors, because it did move and the endoskeletons did not move in the first game.
that is true. But the thing is, he will still be a human at this point. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get into when we see the inevitably first clip of Springtrap.
Yeah. So,
It's too late.
oh, not Freddy. Freddy.
Wait.
Yeah,
That's
Freddy easily the best looking animatronic. He looks like exactly like the game.
He looks amazing, and I don't know. I just can't wait to see it. I mean, it looks a lot, not much CGI, but look a lot of good, like practical effects and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Robbie, go.
Hey, go back and pause on that to where we get to see the first instant. So you get a better look at him later, but we'll talk about him here. Did you notice any sound happening when
He's just
Springtrap?
humming.
Yes, that is exactly William Afton's voice. And if
Yeah,
you guys don't know, Springtrap is William Afton. Afton eventually was getting tormented by the spirits in the third game. He was getting tormented by the spirits when he's building that like haunted location. He got scared, he ran to his suit to get in it, and then there was a spring lock failure. The suit collapsed inside of him. He got squished, blood came out everywhere, and Afton eventually died, and his spirit took form of Springtrap. So this is where the movie starts to get really confusing, and we start to believe that it's probably not going to directly correlate with the games, because we clearly saw Afton at the start, unless the fake name is actually the real name and they're trying to make us think that he's playing Afton. But I highly doubt that. Afton is in Springtrap. So how can he be alive, but then be hunting down Mike and Abby and maybe Vanessa in Springtrap suit if he's still alive? That's where the confusion really gets. Maybe the spring lock hadn't failed yet and he could still get in the suit. That's
yeah,
a possibility. But you could see when they do show Springtrap, and then the next time we see him, he'll be very HD, and you can see there's a bunch of those tears and burns and looks like flesh, which would indicate that the spring locks failed. So it is going to be interesting. But people also, one more thing before we go back to it, people also think that Springtrap being in the trailer has ruined the movie because Springtrap wasn't a thing in the first game, which actually isn't true. Springtrap was in the first game, you just never saw him. What we later learned in the future games is that Springtrap was actually locked in one of the closets you can see on the camera.
yeah,
So Springtrap technically was in the first location, you just never saw him in the first game. Which also, like we said, he used the Springtrap suit to kill in Fredbear's Family Diner, the very first location. So Springtrap was a thing. This Springtrap being in this is way more canon than Vanny being in it.
yeah.
So I don't know why people are so outraged at Springtrap being in the movie.
In the clip we talked about earlier, we saw this little green light with the foot crushing that little ball. So kind of confirms, or maybe not really confirms, but kind of helps our theory that this might be Springtrap that we saw.
Yeah,
But
that's another thing. If you see Springtrap's feet are torn up, that would also indicate that the spring lock failed. So does Afton try to go in the suit halfway through the movie to maybe take Mike's kid and then dies? If the Springtrap fails and it kind of like puts the third game in the first game or the first movie, that's the thing at the end of the day. We can break down the trailer as much as we want, but we'll never really know it till it releases. But I would recommend you guys have faith in Scott. He knows what he's doing.
yeah, I mean, also, I know it's a big curveball, big theory. It could be remote controlled, which people might not like, but I mean, it could be.
I would personally be very upset if Springtrap is remote controlled.
Yeah,
That would be very unfortunate, but I don't think we'd have to worry about that because you can, when they do inevitably show Springtrap, you can see the glow in the eyes, which indicates that there's a soul in the animatronic. So
let's keep.
maybe Afton stuffed the kid that Freddy was with earlier into Springtrap. Remember when Freddy grabbed the kid? Maybe that happened, and maybe they're going to be like, well, Afton isn't Springtrap yet. I don't know, but I would, if it's remote controlled, there's going to be a big outrage from the FNAF fans.
Robbie, go.
Who do you think this? Like, I've seen some theories, but who do you think this little kid is?
That is more than likely Mike's little brother.
Do you think he was the bite of 87? I'm just throwing out that out there.
No, I forget exactly. We know exactly who the bite of 87 is in the fourth game, they tell us. I don't remember if it was Mike's little brother, but I don't think it was.
Oh,
I thought it was Afton's kid. It was, no, that was right. It was Afton's kid that got bit in the bite of 87.
yeah.
He had two older brothers that would always tease him. He was terrified.
Well, one was Mike. One was called Mike as well.
Yeah, no, Mike. That's what I was referring to earlier. The Mike script. We didn't know if it was talking about Afton's son or Mike, the security guard. Scott does that on purpose to make everything more difficult for us. But I believe that personally, and I know this is not my theory or anything. This is something that has been talked about since the trailer dropped. I'm just reiterating the information. I do think this is Mike hallucinating to see his little brother, who was supposedly taken in the 1980s. So I'd say about 10, 13 years before this movie takes place, who was taken. And that is Afton essentially in or William Afton, the guy we saw at the beginning, purple guy. That is essentially him as the hallucination saying, look how we took your little brother away.
Yeah.
And I think Mike will eventually realize that Afton is the reason his family fell apart, as we can see. And I think the next scene, Mike's mom dead on the floor. So I do think that is Mike's little brother being taken away by Afton. Not that obviously that's not how it happened. It would have been happened at the location, but I do think it's interesting that they put that in there. And then the very next shot is a woman laying on the floor. We can't tell who it is. Some people think it might be Afton's wife, who did end up dying. But I personally think it's going to go into Mike's family. That's his little brother who went missing, and which is the reason his mom ended up committing suicide. And so, I think I'm glad that we're actually going to start learning about the characters and not just the animatronics.
Here's a theory I'm going to put out there. We see this later in the trailer. We're going to talk about it later. Since this is Mike's little brother, do we think it is Golden Freddy that wants to help out Abby?
I actually never even thought about that, but that would make more sense. That actually would make this theory more reliable, that it would be Mike's little brother, as Mike's trying, not necessarily that he's trying to protect Mike, but protect
the little girl,
his daughter, as in this, or his, I believe it's his daughter. Protects I guess technically it could maybe be his mom, his little sister, when the mom killed herself, maybe, but I think it's Mike's daughter. I feel like that's pretty obvious.
She does say, like, I think daddy when she's getting pulled.
I did miss that. If she does say that, then it's definitely Mike's daughter. But that would make sense for Mike's little brother to protect his own daughter, because that would just make the storyline come perfectly together. But I also feel like that might be too obvious, and Scott doesn't do obvious. So I don't know.
I haven't seen a lot of people talk about that yet. I'm just throwing that out there. And
I never even heard anyone talk. I've heard people talk about this being Mike's son, but I never heard anyone try to picture who Golden Freddy was, which does make a lot of sense.
Well, the thing is also is that we've seen in FNAF games a Freddy or a malfunction Freddy helps a little child, like we saw in Security Breach.
Mm-hmm.
Even though some people are saying the little kid's an android, but we're not gonna go deep dive into that.
Yeah, hopefully that stuff won't be in this game or this movie. I know they put Vanessa in it, but hopefully it's only Vanessa, because that is too much for one movie to handle.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's continue this. And now we see the people dead. We see whoever's dead.
You see a woman dead on the floor, and this is the assumption that is showing how Mike's family essentially fell apart after Afton took his little brother away.
Yeah, this is the same.
Little brother's probably in one of the animatronics, which is pretty unfortunate.
But this is the same carpeting that we saw earlier in the film as well, when they were at that clouds that was foreclosing as well.
Yeah. Can you go back one scene?
Yeah,
and show the people looking in the animatronic?
Yeah.
Boom. As you can see there, Chica's holding the plate, and the cupcake is not there, which does mean the cupcake might actually end up seeing a role, which would be pretty cool. because it really was underused in the games. But also just look how the animatronics like move their eyes towards the camera. That's very interesting. And they're also in the same hallway. If you guys know from the original game, the first game, which this location is taking place from, Bonnie and Chica never went down the same side. Bonnie and Foxy came from the left, and Freddy and Chica came from the right. So it is cool to see Bonnie and Chica standing literally directly next to each other, which didn't in a hallway, which never happened. So I think it is cool that we know it's not going to be a replica of the first game.
Right. And this is also implementing parts of the second game, like we see right here as a vent, like right below them. So they could be trying to get into the vent before Mike switches on and sees them.
That would be really cool to have an event attack in the first game, which vents weren't even a thing in the first game. So I do like that addition. I don't think it should be a replica of the first game. I just think the storyline should be very well followed, which is why Vanessa's confusing. But we've talked enough about Vanessa.
Vanessa, we'll just not talk about her anymore. Well, there's Vanessa.
Well, we had to talk about her again. I forgot about this part. This is another very confusing part. As you like, I am still a firm believer that Vanessa is there toying with Mike, essentially messing with him, knowing that he's going to die and is almost working with Afton. But it is interesting to see that she clearly got attacked by something. That doesn't mean she got attacked by, she could have hit a car crash or something and Mike just went to visit her. But this, with Mike sitting there, it does indicate that Mike did save her, which is weird because
here's my theory. I'm throwing them out a lot of theories right now. Okay, here's my big theory that I'm gonna say, put like a lot of cash on, make a nice bet. I think Vanessa was good to a certain point to this movie, and later, and from the teaser trailer, we see that Mike was in a torture chamber when that Freddy type of mask coming down on him. I think Vanessa got caught by William Afton, and he's torturing her. Mike saves her and takes her to the hospital, but through that process, William figures out how to take control and possess her, which leads down the line of her being evil, like we saw in the games in the VRs.
Yeah, a lot of people in the VR FNAF game don't understand how much lore was in it. Vanessa, what you see when you play the VR game, you'll go through levels, and eventually you'll turn around and you see this Vanny, which is also known as Vanessa, like get closer and closer to you. And if you guys don't know, Afton was already dead by this point, the VR game. He was almost like a chip.
Yeah.
It was like, he was a computer virus that took over the game they were making. And Vanny was one of the developers of the game. Mm-hmm. And essentially, FNAF got into the mind of Vanny and made Vanny evil.
Yeah.
So that's very likely that he could have done it again. But that would mean the VR game is like going to have no correlation to any future movie if that takes place, though. Because if he's able to get in Vanny's mind this early, I still think Vanny's going to be evil. I think that is a good theory that she starts out nice and becomes evil. But I think Vanny is going to be, like I talked about how there's no guarantee there's a second movie. I think Vanny is the ticket to the second movie. I think by the end of this, more than likely, Afton will die, quote unquote, because Afton has died a million times in the games and always comes back. But I do think Vanny's the ticket to the next game, and I wouldn't be surprised if the next movie will end up being Security Breach at the mall.
Here's the thing. This movie only cost $36 million. I feel like it has a chance to make more than that.
This movie, I would be very surprised if it didn't gross over 200 million.
So there's gonna be probably a sequel, because like Insidious Red Door cost 30 million to make, and it's already made 70 million. But there's already been so many Insidious. But this movie could do that, and people like Blumhouse could be like, "Oh, okay, we can make a franchise out of this and bring Scott back."
Exactly. So. This movie is going to be at least this one is going to be huge. There's no guarantee any future one is, but when you have a movie get delayed 15 different times over the span of 8 years, there's more people that want to see this movie than not. This movie is going to gross money and it's going to be huge. I think that's a big reason you see a huge actor like what's it called? A huge actor like Elizabeth Lale take over the role of Vanny, because I do think that indicates that she understands that she's going to be the villain at some point. And that's like a ticket to a huge movie franchise, like you were saying. So there's a reason she's here. And I personally think it's the second movie. I think she's setting up the second movie, which I think will be the mall. I think they're just going to skip the other games because they've already intertwined so much. I think that this movie will be the mall. But
there's some stuff later, but there's also one thing I also want to talk about grossing. There is one glaring issue. It also comes out straight to streaming the same day it hits theaters. That's the main issue. So you gotta figure out how you're gonna look at the analytics and stuff for when it hits Peacock for free on Halloween, while it also hits theaters on Halloween. You gotta look at who actually engages on the streaming service and actually who goes out to see the movie in theaters.
that's interesting. I don't know why they released it on streaming services that early. Maybe they got a fat deal they could not take down or turn down that may have already paid for the whole movie itself. I'm not necessarily sure why they do that, but I still think this movie is going to gross an insane amount of money and kind of bring life back to the horror genre that has just slowly died.
I mean, I think Scream brought it a little bit back.
Oof. I watched that literally last week. Might have been,
One of the worst.
besides the last Scream movie, the one before it, might have been the second worst Scream movie ever. Oh my, it was terrible. It was just,
it had some good kills. I'll give it that. That's about it.
it had good kills, but even like the first scene where the dude's like guts get ripped out, they looked like plastic. Like it didn't even look remotely real. I don't know. Horror's gotta open their eyes, and I think this movie is gonna show them that maybe instead of trying to make movies less scary, you try and like just find what made them good in the first place. It's not 24/7 jump scares like every movie does now. It's not that like it's not a good kill scene. It's not even like a good scare scene. What makes a horror movie good is just like the nature that you're sitting there on your toes the entire time, just not knowing what's going to happen next. And scary movies have gotten way too predictable. And this is why I think this movie is going to be huge, because we've never seen Five Nights at Freddy's in this type of atmosphere before. So how are they going to scare you? How are they going to kill you? Is Mike just going to turn his head and one's going to be in the hallway? Or is it going to be like a progressive night one, not that bad, like the game, night 3, Foxy's running at me, night 5, Golden Freddy's, or not Golden Freddy, I guess Springtrap's coming to kill you, because Golden Freddy's inherently good in this, apparently. So
Well, that's true as well. But are you gonna see it in theaters or are you gonna see it on streaming? Because since
I'm gonna see it in theaters. My little brother already said he's coming down on the 26th. Since he started liking the game just as much as me. He loves it. He would have been a great addition to this podcast. He knows so much about it. But yeah, we will be seeing it in theaters. I will 100% be watching that in theaters. This is what I've been waiting for 8 years. I'm definitely not gonna watch it in my room.
all right, let's keep on watching. This is probably where Mike gets fired.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we're already in the mall. Like you said earlier, we might head back to the mall, but we see Mike punching a guy in a mall little pond.
Yeah, it's definitely why he's so desperate for a job. He definitely got into some heated argument or took something too seriously and ended up costing himself that job.
Yeah. Here's the event again. Where is Mike's escaping from? I wonder if he's trying to get out of.
Not really sure how animatronics would fit in that, but at the same time, we will see Freddy in a car, so who knows?
Yeah.
But
here is a closer look.
yep, that is Afton in his glory. And you can see the glowing of the eyes, which means a soul is in that body. It's not an animatronic like functioning. I highly doubt it would be remote controlled either, like you said, because you see that's why their eyes glow. That indicates that there's life. But then you can also see how torn apart his face is in that top left. You can see the ears missing.
Yeah.
which does indicate that the spring lock failed. So maybe Afton dies halfway through the movie. This is the biggest question. I don't even think Vanny's the biggest question mark. It's who's Springtrap. I think that's what is really confusing. But it's gonna be Afton. It's just how does he get in it? I don't think he would change that aspect. I don't think you'd hire such a big actor to play a 20-second role in the start of the movie to hire Mike. Yeah, he's gonna be the killer. It's just like what went wrong? How did Mike fail in the suit? Or not Mike, William. How did William fail in the suit over, I guess, whatever time frame from when he gets the job to the end of the movie? That's the confusing part. But yeah, Springtrap looks amazing. I'm not sure why he's holding a knife, but he looks amazing.
Get those easy kills on the children. Come on. Stop.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did kill him with knives in the Springtrap suit, and then he would stuff him in the bodies. Not like he'd like beat him with an animatronic. Like he would just kill him normally.
Or like what we saw earlier, would just stomp them on the ground. Well,
Yeah, could do that. That'd be pretty. The movie would definitely be rated R if you did that. So,
well, do you think? I hope we get some flashbacks to maybe. I mean, we could get some flashbacks to where he's killing them. Like, I hope we get some of that because we saw that in some of the games.
I would love to see the mini games from the old games where you'd see Afton visibly stab people, then become crying childs. I'd love to see those flashbacks, but I feel like it might be tough to see those because it is. Have they released the length of the movie yet?
I don't know, but I know it can't be that long because I know horror. I mean, let's look it up.
Because that will be a pretty big indicator on whether they're gonna look into the past.
I mean, you just said like I don't know. Dial of Destiny had like a couple of like flashbacks. They have not released a release time yet.
So that'll tell us a big part on how they want to address the history. But I think there's a good chance this first movie does not engage in a lot of the history because you got to create the fans first. Like I know they had the original fans, but I'm saying like there might not be a lot of flashbacks and stuff in this movie because they want everyone to fall in love with it and then start going into the history of it.
Right.
No, I'm not sure there'll be a lot of those, but if it's a longer movie, then be ready for them because Scott loves his flashbacks. So
apparently, I just look on IMDb, which was my credible source for most of my movie facts, and there's apparently a female villain, and it's not Vanessa. So
yeah, I did see that when I was doing research for this podcast, and I wasn't really sure who it was. It looked like she was one of the people breaking in.
Yeah, so she could be one.
So she villain as in thieves, maybe, but more than likely she'll be a female victim to one of these animatronics. So
yeah. Next thing you know, is Afton wife and him killing. We don't know.
Yeah, you never know, Scott.
Well, we see. What do you think about the Mike here? Like,
Springtrap, 100%. If this trailer is actually not like the times are accurate, if he gets caught here in the next scene he's on that chair, then it should be Afton. But if this happens in the beginning of the movie and then the chair happens at the end, it could be anyone. Yeah. It could even be Vanessa. You really don't know.
Well, he looks like he's got bow damage already. It could be one of the animatronics that hurt him a little bit. And then
it looked like Foxy got his back at some point earlier. If you want to go back and show them that little, like, it's really hard to spot, but you can see there's a tear on his back. It looks like a claw got him. Foxy has claws and a hook, so who knows? But
yeah, it looks like part of his shirt down here got torn too.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. There we go. Was there ever something like this in the games? I don't feel like there was.
Actually, yes. Sister's location, actually. Oh, I didn't even think about that before. Yeah, that is actually very reminiscent of Sister Location, where they would strap you into chairs and try and take your soul, and that's a whole another thing I don't even want to get into, where they start sealing souls and putting them in other people. And the robot kids like that. We're not getting into that, but
William's daughter got sucked into the animatronic because that has the same name as Mike's daughter, right? Abby
or
Baby. Yeah, Baby.
I thought Baby was Afton's daughter.
Yeah, but she has the same exact name as Mike's daughter,
No,
Abby.
yeah, and yeah, the reason Baby is named Baby is because Abby, you can rearrange the letters and make Baby. So maybe they're gonna try and correlate uh the Schmidt family and the Afton family into one horror mess. But I don't know. I mean, this is a sister location like type
Yeah.
of thing. I'm not saying this was directly in sister location, even though it might have been actually. I'm trying to picture that. I haven't played sister location in so long. Try to picture like exactly that frame. Because I know something you get strapped into a chair, then a bunch of things come and like slice you open, which is a lot like this. But that does make me think the next movie will be the mole. I think they're skipping all the other games. I don't
Or do
know.
you think Mike's gonna go under a transformation, or he's gonna escape from this?
I don't know. I think this. I don't. I don't want to say this would be the death of him because I don't think they'd show how Mike dies in the trailer.
Yeah.
Even though I think Mike will die in the trailer, or not in the trailer, in the movie. I think Mike will die. I'm not. I don't think he's gonna die from this though. And there's also no guarantee that this cut right here is actually even Mike in the chair. Even though I know they showed it a little earlier,
Yeah.
that doesn't
This
mean he
could be
didn't.
Vanessa, like I was saying earlier.
Yeah. We don't know. I think there's a reason they're showing this, and I think it's to throw us off and think it's Mike. I think there's a better chance Vanessa's in this chair or his daughter instead of Mike himself.
I'm trying to see what mask this is because this is definitely a mask, and you can see these little chips of the tooth. I'm just trying to see what like animatronic
It could also be those feet we saw earlier.
Yeah.
Because there is no skin on this thing.
Yeah, it could be like a dead thieves just pin them in like soup. Or
Yeah,
like,
it could be some like mind controlling animatronic that Mike or William built at some point.
yeah. Oh, the thing is, I also don't think they would call Mike because they have such a big actor they just hired. I don't. They might just keep him just for the face.
I don't even if they make a second movie, I don't see the security guard being the same person.
Fair.
So I think Mike will die in this. I don't know about his daughter. I think she'll somehow live. But I really don't think Mike's making it through this movie. So if you're a big Josh Hutcherson fan, you better enjoy this movie because I don't think he's gonna be in the next one.
Somehow survive or be a good ghost in the next one.
Yeah, no, people. I mean, we already know the bandits are probably all gonna die, so there will be death there. Probably gonna have some sort of flashback. Like we were talking about the kids dying, so we know there'll be death there. But Afton, Vanny, Mike, Abby, one of them's got to die. I don't think all four of them are gonna live, and I think Mike's the first man out there.
Odd one out. Let's see what else we got.
Where to?
Golden Freddy. Look at him in his prime and glory.
Mm-hmm. If you go to the neck, like play like 2 more seconds, we'll get to see his full
always get
body.
the weirdos.
There we go. Yeah, Abby. What's wrong with that? I might be just paused at the wrong time with Abby, but there we go. Yep. See, like I said, streaming on Peacock the same day. Yeah.
Oh, wow. But yeah, so Golden Freddy, that he was more apparent in the first game than Springtrap, so it makes sense you'd see Golden Freddy. But like, why is he holding Abby's hand? This is
Protecting
and
him.
I also want you guys to know from the games itself, Golden Freddy has always been lifeless. Golden Freddy has always been hunched over, like he's the same thing. He was missing an eye, missing an ear, just like this one, but he'd be hunched over, laying down like that. And it was never an endoskeleton. You can see here he's clearly an animatronic. Golden Freddy was a costume in the original games. Like I'm talking like a costume we go to Party City and buy and put us on it. Like a costume that anyone could wear. I think Afton's partner, I forget his name, that he ends up killing later.
Yeah.
Or no, the guy that ends up killing Afton later by burning the place down. His former partner that built Fredbear's Diner wore the Golden Freddy suit while Afton wore the Springlock one. So I'm not sure why Golden Freddy can clearly see those wires and stuff. He's clearly an animatronic. So that's going to be weird. But I do like it because it would be kind of weird to see just someone in a costume running around. So
Well, going back to the lore base, Michael, like William Afton's partner, was more the animatronic guy. William
Yeah,
was more the business
William.
guy.
Yeah, William was the dude with the genius plan,
Yeah,
and well, the other dude actually had his own animatronic place too, and they ended up merging, and creating Fredbear's Family Diner. That's how the whole thing happened, or not Fredbear's Family Diner, Freddy Fazbear.
yeah.
He had the diner, then he merged it with those like weird frog animatronics you see in Ultimate Custom Night, and those merged together and created this place. So
Could make sense why he's an animatronic now.
yeah, so maybe they ended up upgrading Golden Freddy and making him an animatronic. Maybe this dude, that his other partner, wanted Golden Freddy to be part of it since that's what he used to wear. I'm not necessarily sure, but I think the overall point we're missing is, why is he friendly? Like, why is Golden Freddy trying to help Abby clearly go back into the restaurant? But another theory is Mike did not let Abby come back after that first day, and Golden Freddy took it into his own hands to make sure Abby came back to the location. That is also a very possible theory, that Golden Freddy's actually not Abby's friend. As you know, when Afton used to lure children back, he would hold their hands, like you saw in the picture. He'd hold their hands, be all friends with them, get them in the back room, and just start murdering them. So Golden Freddy might not even be a good guy.
Yeah.
But I do like the theory that it is Mike's little brother
Yeah.
helping his daughter. I think that's actually like the perfect way to make this movie. Even if we know it now, we were able to guess it, I still think it's the perfect way. I think it is good to have one of the animatronics not be necessarily evil. And we clearly saw at one point Chica, Freddy, Bonnie, and Foxy all be evil. So it would be nice to have one that's nice. So that could be interesting, but we also can't be too sure he's helping Abby. These are evil animatronics for the most part that could be luring him or her right back into the location for her demise.
That's true. I mean, here's another theory. Maybe Mike died early on, and this is him in the animatronic. Because we see Mike was in
That
the
is very true.
chair, and it could have been this Golden Freddy. Because we saw it was a Freddy masterpiece, like we were talking about just a couple minutes ago. That was a Freddy masterpiece, and it could be Mike in the suit.
That would be pretty interesting. That would be under the assumption that Mike is dead. Oh, maybe I see. The only reason I don't believe that is because why we would already know what happened. We
Yeah.
saw Mike clearly get in the machine, and then maybe he did become Golden Freddy. Maybe they made Mike Golden Freddy.
Yeah.
But then why would he lure his own daughter back into the place? Because these kids still have souls. It's not like it's not like the kids are evil. That's why they didn't hunt kids. The kids weren't evil. The kids were getting revenge on Afton and anyone who resembled Afton as an adult. So
That's why I think it's more of William's little brother. I think he's just trying to get his daughter to come back and save his older brother from William Afton.
I think makes the most sense. But once again, it's Scott. Don't be surprised when Mike ends up killing his own daughter, apparently.
Yeah, but hear me out. Like this is Scott's passion project. He waited so long. He waited those 8 years. So this is his perfect script that he wanted to write and finish out there. When Blumhouse took over, they basically told Scott, "Give us your best script, the script that you feel most comfortable with, the script that you feel like will make sure that you make you happy, make the FNAF fans happy, and we'll do it." And this is what we got, and so far, I'm happy with it. I'm excited when it comes out October 27th. And I'm kind of upset that it's coming right on the streaming for Peacock because I feel like it should be a movie release first, and then maybe 2 months after should go on
I
Peacock.
agree. I think people care too much about how much money movies make, etc. I think at the end of the day, I guess now it's streaming on Peacock. It probably won't make nearly as much money as it should. Maybe it won't get over 200 million now, just simply due to that. But this movie is going to be a hit. There should be a second one. This movie's gonna be everywhere. I can promise you guys that. This fan base is so passionate. The younger fan base too has grown huge. It's almost like you don't even see the old fans anymore. There's so many like kids that love this series now. It's weird. It's gonna generate money. They clearly kept it PG-13 for a reason. They want the kids coming. They want this new generation to fall in love with the game that we all fell in love with. So I'm glad that's taking place. At the end of the day, something that we've always done is trust in Scott. Scott's always not always have been perfect, but more than not has been close to perfect. He's had a couple bad games every once in a while, like Five Nights at Freddy's 3 or Security Breach, even though he wasn't fully in control of that one. But he always makes it up to the fans, like creating free games and between other games, creating websites that show little hints every like 30 days. Just Scott is a man of the people. It's going to be a good movie. It may not be exactly what we wanted 8 years ago, but it's going to be a good movie regardless. And I think you would be crazy to not at least buy a free trial of Peacock to watch it at this point, since you don't have to go to the movie theater.
I
Like,
think we get a free trial for Peacock for Xbox Game Pass. So
I already have Peacock. That's what we watched Premier League on. So I could watch it on there, but I'm gonna go see it in the theaters because I've been waiting for this.
yeah, I mean, I might be reaching again, but I'm just trying to see if Scott's trying to send us a message with this little Fazbear, Freddy Fazbear pizza thing, because with some letters are lit up, some letters are just not. But that's just me trying to see if Scott's leaving more details around or not.
Yeah, it looks like it's almost saying like ready.
Yeah,
Know what FBS would be.
I don't know what else. But that's all I got. I mean, I'm excited for this. I am, but there's some things. I mean, I'm not really worried. I feel like I trust Scott, but the PG-13 scaring me, and then the streaming on Peacock kind of scaring me because I want this movie to make some money. And releasing on October 27th and around Halloween, I think it will make the money. But the streaming on Peacock is gonna be a little confusing because like it's gonna make maybe a little younger audience watch it at home, which is fine, which I'm fine, perfect with, because like I don't want to see little kids in Five Nights at Freddy's movie theater just screaming and crying because they thought this was gonna be a little bit more child friendly, but it's
I don't
not.
either, but if that happens, you know the movie is going to be good.
Yeah,
If you start going on TikTok and you see kids crying in movie theaters, this movie was successful.
yeah, and I also think TikTok is another reason why this gained popularity again, because we see all these TikTok trends, TikTok songs. We all hear the song all the time from Sister Location from this, and people use that song a lot.
Yeah. Well, before we end the podcast, I want to go over a couple things that we didn't address. So if you go back to the start of the trailer that I have written down, so go back to the start, like keep going. Not like directly the start, like maybe like 30 seconds in, where it's like Mike's near the beginning. Yeah, just keep scrolling. I'll see when I see it. I think it might be might go back and just play it from here. Let me see if I can see it real quick. Okay, no, go back. It was like right before we paused. No, like before where you pause, like the start, like right when he gets in. Yeah, go right from here.
A little bit more.
Yeah, I'll tell you when to stop when I see it. It's like you'll see it. It's very hard to see it. So like be at a door, not there. Just keep playing it. It's just a little thing, but it's cool for the Five Nights at Freddy's like original fans.
Oh,
Right there.
Yeah.
If you see that, there's an employee of the month board, and every single employee on there is a Five Nights at Freddy's video creator at some point, like the big creators. So on, you can't really see it here, but Daco is on there, 8-Bit Ryan's on there, and DJ Sturfer on there. There's just a few to mention, like some of the bigger creators. Yeah, I think it's really cool that they're bringing in the creators that like they don't forget your roots. The game got huge, but Scott has always remembered who got the game huge, and it's really cool to see people that I grew up watching, like Daco. I mean, I love Daco, and he's actually on that board. He's in the movie, which is just insane.
I'm gonna be mad if Markiplier is not in this movie. That's the guy I watch.
That's another thing. Markiplier's not on that board, so I
Yeah.
don't know. I know I saw the full thing. He's not on the board, so I'm not sure. There's a picture on Twitter. Daco posted it of the full board. Markiplier's not on it, so that's very weird because Markiplier is very close to the sole reason the game blew up how it did.
Yeah, because like if you go on TikTok right now, there's clips of him being the fifth night, and he's just cheering and going crazy.
Yeah, I remember his video playthroughs were the best.
Yeah.
Okay, but before we last things, I want to go over a couple previous scripts that got. So if you guys don't know, Scott actually created a Reddit post when everyone thought the movie was canceled, and he went on dropping a bunch of scripts that he previously scrapped. I didn't put all of them. I actually forgot to put the one where you're talking about the break-in. I was reading about that one, but I didn't put that one on there, but you kind of went over that one a little. So one of the first ones was Plushies Take Manhattan. It's a parody. It's a parody of the Muppets Take Manhattan, and it's pretty much just we don't really know much about it other than the fact that Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, all of them would have been plushies to take over a city. Scott despised the idea, and it never even got into script form. But that was the first one.
Well, here's my question. Chris Columbus was a story writer for the Gremlins early on, so that kind of makes sense because it sounds like the second Gremlins movie, Gremlins 2, the new batch, where the Gremlins take over New York. It sounds exactly like that. So I
Yep.
can see
Scott,
why.
Scott hated it, and that's a big reason that never even got close to production. The next one is Random Charlie. This is just this is kind of what we know. We don't know a lot about it. We know there's a protagonist named Charlie. Sneaks into Five Nights at Freddy's or Freddy Fazbear's Pizza to find a toy that one of her friends left at the place.
Interesting.
The characters use the same names as like the book universe.
Yeah.
But Scott ended up scrapping it because it felt like it was too loosely based on the game. So like it was like it had little elements from the game, but didn't correlate enough to there would have been like no Mike and no Afton, stuff like that. He didn't like that. The next one, which was actually, I think the one that got the closest to being created, was Silver Eyes. So it's actually, if you guys don't know what Silver Eyes is, which most FNAF fans never read the books, besides the diehard fans, it's actually about one of the books. So it would have been about the novel trilogy. And for a year, Scott and this girl named Kira Risley worked on 3 different versions of Silver Eyes. So this is what they wanted to do. And they weren't very good at writing yet. This was both like their first kind of time writing. And every time they brought the script, it was horrible. And they didn't like it. And that's when they decided, let's try and not create a new universe, and let's actually go and follow the games instead of the books. Because the people love the games. And that's why this one was thrown away. And the final one I obviously went over was Mike. This is the one that I wanted. And I still kind of feel like I'd prefer it over this one. I'm not going to lie. But Mike was essentially, he's told us the least amount of information about this one. All we know is that it was presumed to be about Michael Afton or Mike Schmidt. If you guys don't know, Michael Afton is William Afton's son.
Right.
So it wouldn't have been about Afton himself or like the main Afton. And they were supposed to start filming in spring 2021. Like the script was made and they were starting to film. And then Scott, obviously, like I said, stepped away for that whole cancel drama. And Chris Columbus refused to take part in the film and completely scrapped the script.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming when he went to Blumhouse and Jason Blum, they wanted to do something else, which is why we see this.
So this happened in 2020, right?
Mike script?
Yeah.
No, this Mike script was in spring 2021, like when they were set to film.
Well, also I had to show something else that was kind of a spin-off of what we were talking of, or a parody of, is what we got here, Willy's Wonderland. It's basically
I did watch that on Hulu. It's like a 7-minute video, right?
no, it's a whole movie. Whole hour and 30 minutes. Whole hour and 30 minutes. It's basically Five Nights at Freddy's without the IP.
I never even saw that before.
It's basically what I said earlier. You know how how Afton had a script of people breaking in? It's exactly that script. Because this guy, well, Nicolas Cage character, his like thing breaks down and he starts working at this old animatronic.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're saying Chris Columbus took it after he essentially.
Well, Chris Columbus didn't direct this movie. No one from the team did.
I thought you were saying like when he said no longer I'm gonna work with Scott, he just made his own like off-brand.
But I feel like a script was shopped around somewhere and they just picked it up. and just made this movie.
Yeah, they might have easily sold that script. I don't remember. There's one more like that. I don't remember what it was called. I watched it a while ago. If you guys go on Hulu, there's like a 7-minute movie that
It's
is,
called Banana Splits. No, that's something else.
I'm not sure. It's on Hulu. It's like a 7-minute movie. It's a Hulu original that is essentially somebody gets attacked by animatronics in a Five Nights at Freddy's place and dies. It's really bad. It's not a good movie. Like the editing, you could tell there's a reason it was a 7-minute movie. We could have filmed it, but it is cool to watch if you guys are excited for this movie. Just go and watch it. It's literally 7 minutes long. Doesn't it? It's like shorter than most TikToks, honestly, at this point. Like, just go watch it. It's pretty funny. I guess I'll have to go watch the other one now. I didn't know there was a full movie on it. I heard about the full movie, but I thought they ended up just doing the 7-minute movie on Hulu. That's why I never even looked for the other one. So
It's on Hulu. Let me check because like
I know it's on Hulu. I see it every time I go on, and I almost watch it again just because it's like so bad. But
it's all right. And it's a
Hulu original FNAF knockoff. Let me see if I can find it.
it's not bad.
Oh yeah, The Hug. Yeah, that's what it is. It's on, you can watch it on YouTube apparently now too. It's literally right here. It's called The Hug. It's actually 6 minutes long. But it's pretty much people. They say it's inspired by horror incidents at Chuck E. Cheese, but we all know whatever what it's really after.
Yeah,
It was
you can watch Willy's Wonderland on Hulu apparently. So it's interesting.
Yeah, well, The Hug is what I was essentially referring to. It's actually a film fest thing. That's why it's 7 minutes long.
So it's like a short film.
Yeah, it's a short film. It's a 7 or 6 minutes long. It's The Hug. You can go watch it. It's really bad, but it's also really funny because like I think at some point you'll see the animatronic, like his face starts turning evil and blood starts flying out of his mouth. It's just weird. Oh, I could tell you about the plot. I think I do remember. I think it's actually he lures a kid over, and the kid like the worker was like, "Hey, don't go near him," and the kid went over there, and he ends up all of a sudden the kid's gone, and you look back to him, and it's like the animatronic, like his face is like riled up, blood's everywhere. Pretty much he ate him. If you want to go watch it, I recommend it. It's literally 6 minutes long. It's pretty good, or not good at all.
You
But
just got it pretty bad. Now you
yeah, no, it's pretty. No, I've rephrased that. It's really bad, but it is really good to watch to get excited for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie because it takes the same aspect of kids animatronics, don't mix.
I mean, honestly, if you guys want to get prepared for this movie, you can go watch Matt Pat, Markiplier, old videos. Well, Matt Pat does a game theorist, film theorist, and he made some great videos about this. So if you guys want to deep dive and learn more about the FNAF theories, I highly recommend Matt Pat because he does a whole theory about the whole series, how to connect every little detail, and he makes a good through 2.5 to like a 3 hour long videos about it, and it gives you guys good references as well. Because Scott doesn't give us everything. He puts stuff in books, and then we have to inference them into the games, and now we probably have to inference them through the movie as well when this comes out. I bet you we won't know everything after watching the film. I bet you we're gonna need to learn more about, maybe look at games again, look at the books.
Be ready for 100 theories to drop after the movie. Yeah. I think the movie is going to explain a lot more than the games because it's a movie. But at the same time, Scott wants you, even if they never make a second one, Scott doesn't want you to know everything. And he will keep secrets for 10 years if he has to. That's what he does. And it honestly is the whole reason everyone's hooked. It's really fun trying to guess. And if you've never played the first game and you're just a casual Five Nights at Freddy's fan listening to this, go play the first game. You can get it on the Xbox, anything for like $5, or go on your app store and get it for like $2. It runs just as good as any of the Xbox games or the PC version. Go play it. You'll really get an understanding of the atmosphere and what makes this game so scary. And you don't have to. The first game maybe takes like a couple days to beat because it's a little hard when you get to like night 4, but you get the hang of it eventually. Don't ever try 20 mode. Don't do that to yourself. And I only beat one of them ever, and it was in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the easiest game. So, but I'd really recommend you guys learn about the first location and the first game before watching this. It'll make a lot more sense because a lot of it is going to be confusing. Five Nights at Freddy's is confusing. So,
And here's my thing. Here's a possibility that could happen if this movie does well on Peacock and in the theaters. They could just make it a straight to Peacock now, like a straight to Peacock film. Like there's some Netflix films that are just straight to Netflix, or even can become a TV show because maybe Peacock needs something new and to get a TV show.
I
And if
would
they,
love a TV show, but I don't know. I feel like in the essence, uh, like a series of movies will end up being better than a show for like what Finds at Freddy's is.
oh yeah, I agree to an extent, yes, but now they're rebooting Harry Potter and making it a TV show to flesh it out even more, which means if this was made like a TV show, Scott would have more time to flesh out what he wants to talk
Yeah,
about.
that is true. It would be really cool to have Finds at Freddy's like this show. You click on it, episode one's night one, episode two is night two. Like that would be really cool. But I don't know if it becomes either way. If the more we get to Finds at Freddy's, the happier everyone will be. So find a way to release more than just this movie. Don't make this the last one, Scott. The
Yeah.
fans have waited 8 years. Even if it's the only one you ever make, we'll all be very grateful for how you've impacted our childhoods and stuff. But make more. We don't want this to be the last one.
Here's my pitch. If I was like trying to be Scott, I'd be like, all right, Peacock, this is what I'm gonna do. Season one is the first game, season two, second game. That's what I would do, just flesh it out.
Oh, it would be perfect, but unfortunately,
How it
the
is.
movie industry and show industry doesn't work that easily. But that would be perfect.
It would be. Wish we could have got Braden on here, give us his opinions and thinks we were
Yeah, I
right.
mean, I doubt this will be the last set of information we get before
Uh,
the movie comes out.
if
And
there's more information, I might as well ask him to hop on, and we can all
yeah,
have
no,
a go.
I have a pretty good understanding of the storyline, but I'm talking about someone who knows every aspect of it, and he knows every aspect of it. He always I didn't really stop playing, but around the sixth game, it kind of got hard for me to play because I didn't have a computer and the games got like really big and my laptop could not run any of them. My little brother had a computer, so we got to play all of them. So he stayed like heavily invested into the storylines. I played the VR with him. That's personally my favorite besides the first game. I love the VR. It's actually terrifying. It brings out all the elements of the old games, makes them better. And but yeah, if you or play the VR game, you can play the entire first game on the VR. So you
And
don't
your
even
brother reads all the books multiple times. I don't think I've touched the book in a minute.
yeah, he doesn't read all of them, but he has read like six of them. I know he bought like a 6 pack of them and read them.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about them, and the books are weird. I don't think I'll ever get into them.
Weird. I used
Yeah,
to watch Matt Pat's videos of him explaining, and they're just like weird. But
yeah, they are very weird.
I hope you guys enjoyed our FNAF trailer breakdown. We might have got a little bit too in depth for you new FNAF fans, but I hope you guys do enjoy this. We try to keep it kind of short and simple. And probably is not short and simple, probably like a 2 hour long video or something like that. But I hope you guys do enjoy FNAF breakdown with us. If you guys enjoyed having Tyler on the show, like I did, you can let me know down in the comments and let me know if you guys want him back for maybe a Barb and Oppenheimer thing with Kurt, because that's something we're probably going to plan on trying to do. But I hope you guys have a great day and get ready for FNAF that comes out October 27th.